In the desolate stretches of New Mexico, beneath a vast sky painted with stars, lay the small town of Eldridge, a place where secrets slumbered in the shadows. The Martinez family lived in a cozy home on the edge of town, where the nights were filled with the chirps of crickets and the whispers of the wind. Yet an unsettling air had begun to settle over them. Weeks prior, Jacob Martinez had noticed odd occurrences, strange lights flickering in the night sky, shadows darting just out of sight, and an inexplicable dread that hung over the town. He brushed it off as mere paranoia until the night he found a torn piece of fabric caught on the barbed wire fence behind their home. It was a child's shirt, frayed and dirtied, yet eerily familiar. As the days passed, the unease grew. His wife, Maria, and their 8-year-old daughter, Lily, began to experience vivid nightmares, dreams filled with hissing voices and dark figures lurking just beyond their vision. Jacob, desperate to understand, delved into the lore of reptilian humanoids. He scoured the internet, his screen illuminating the night as he read tales of ancient beings that thrived on fear, stories of families that vanished without a trace. Then, one fateful evening, Jacob returned home to find the door ajar. The silence was suffocating. He called out for Maria and Lily, but the only response was the echo of his own voice. Panic gripped him as he searched every room, his heart pounding in his chest. They were gone. Frantic, Jacob turned to the online community, desperate for answers. He stumbled upon a forum filled with individuals sharing eerily similar stories, lost loved ones, strange sightings, and a chilling fear that something was watching. One user, Shadow Seeker, claimed to have encountered the creatures firsthand. After a series of exchanged messages, they arranged to meet in the mountains behind Jacob's home. The day of the meeting was overcast, the air heavy with an impending storm. Jacob met the stranger, a tall man with deep-set eyes and an unsettling calmness.
"You're not the first to search for them,"
the man said, his voice a low rasp as they hiked deeper into the woods.
"And you won't be the last."
"Have you seen them?"
Jacob asked, desperation creeping into his voice.
"What do you know?"
"They are ancient,"
Shadow Seeker replied, glancing around as if the trees themselves were listening.
"Reptilian humanoids, shapeshifters who can blend into society. They thrive on fear and have been abducting humans for centuries. Their technology is beyond our comprehension, machines that can manipulate time and space, and they use them to feed off our fear, to keep us fresh for consumption."
Jacob swallowed hard, the gravity of the situation sinking in.
"What do they want with my family?"
"They feed off fear and despair,"
Shadow Seeker said, his tone grim.
"They keep their victims alive to harvest their emotions. You must be careful. Once they have you, it's almost impossible to escape."
As they climbed, the trees grew gnarled and twisted, the path steep and treacherous. Jacob's heart raced with a mixture of hope and dread. They reached a clearing where the mountains loomed ominously. Before them lay an entrance obscured by dense foliage, a dark hole that seemed to breathe with a life of its own. With a flashlight in hand, Jacob led the way into the underground. The air was thick and damp. The walls shimmered with moisture, and the ground felt alive beneath their feet. As they ventured deeper, they stumbled upon remnants of lost lives, torn clothing, children's toys, and unsettling symbols carved into the walls. Each step echoed with the whispers of those who had vanished. Suddenly, the air shifted. A low growl vibrated through the cavern, sending shivers down their spines. Shadows danced at the edge of their vision, and Jacob felt the primal instinct to flee. But he pressed on, driven by the thought of Maria and Lily.
"Stay close,"
he whispered to Shadow Seeker, who nodded, eyes wide with fear. They pressed deeper into the darkness, the tunnel narrowing until they reached a vast chamber. The sight before them was both awe-inspiring and grotesque, a hive-like structure pulsating with a sickly glow lit by bioluminescent fungi that thrived in the dampness. Reptilian humanoids, their scales glistening in the dim light, moved in a grotesque rhythm, feeding off a dark mass that writhed in agony. The stench of decay filled the air, a nauseating blend of rot and something sweetly foul. Jacob felt bile rise in his throat as he recognized the source, human flesh. Panic surged through him as he realized the truth. The beings before him were not just myths. They were predators, and their family had become prey. The ground shook with the echo of a terrifying chorus, a cacophony of hisses and guttural growls as the reptilians turned their gaze towards the intruders.
Jacob, we need to leave, now!
Shadowseeker urged, but it was too late. A reptilian lunged forward, its eyes glinting with hunger. In the chaos, Shadowseeker stumbled, twisting his ankle against the rocky ground.
Go!
He shouted, desperation in his voice.
I'll hold them off.
No! We stick together!
Jacob yelled, but Shadowseeker was already pushing him away, desperately trying to buy Jacob time. Jacob hesitated for a moment, torn between his instinct to help and the reality of their perilous situation.
Find your family,
Shadowseeker yelled, his voice echoing through the chamber as he faced the advancing creatures. Jacob turned, heart racing, and fled deeper into the lair. The tunnels twisted and turned, and Jacob's breath came in ragged gasps. He pressed on, driven by a singular thought: his family. Finally, he stumbled into another chamber, and his heart dropped at the sight before him. Maria was stuck to the wall, ensnared in a sticky organic substance that seemed to pulse with life. Her eyes were wide with fear, and she struggled against the bonds, her voice muffled.
Jacob, help me.
Maria,
He cried, rushing to her side. The viscous material held her tightly, as if it were alive, feeding off her fear.
what is this?
Jacob, you have to get me out.
She pleaded, her voice trembling. Just then, he heard a soft whimper. Turning, he spotted Lily, also trapped in the same sticky material, her small frame barely visible against the wall.
Daddy.
She cried, tears streaming down her cheeks.
Hold on, sweetie, I'll get you out.
Jacob shouted, his heart racing. He reached for the substance, his fingers slipping against the slick surface.
Jacob, it's too strong. You need to pull hard.
Maria urged. With a surge of adrenaline, Jacob gripped the edges of the sticky material. As he pulled, the substance resisted, a chilling sensation creeping over him as if it were trying to suck him in as well.
Come on.
He growled through gritted teeth. With one final heave, he tore Lily free. She tumbled to the ground, gasping for air, but the moment was cut short. The reptilians had sensed their escape, and a chorus of hisses echoed through the chamber.
Run!
Jacob shouted, grabbing Lily's hand as they sprinted toward the exit. But as they dashed back through the tunnels, the walls trembled and a massive reptilian lunged from the shadows, catching Shadowseeker in its grasp.
No!
Jacob screamed, but it was too late. The creature dragged Shadowseeker into the darkness, his screams echoing behind them.
Daddy, what's happening?
Lily cried, fear evident in her wide eyes.
I don't know, honey, but we need to keep moving.
Jacob shouted, adrenaline coursing through him as they raced toward the entrance. The air grew thicker, and the hissing grew louder, closing in on them. Just as they reached the mouth of the cave, Jacob felt a sharp pain in his leg as a claw grazed him. He stumbled but caught himself, pulling Lily close as they burst into the open air. The night sky felt surreal as they emerged from the cave, but there was no time to celebrate. The sounds of the creatures echoed behind them, a dark promise that they would not let their prey escape easily. They ran through the forest, the moonlight guiding their frantic flight, but Jacob's heart sank as he glanced back. Shadowseeker was gone, and the darkness behind them was alive with sinister intent. As they pushed through the underbrush, Jacob vowed to return, to gather allies, to uncover the truth buried in the earth, and to unleash a reckoning on the creatures that had taken everything from him. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over Eldridge, the echoes of the past whispered through the night, a reminder that some secrets are best left undisturbed. For in the darkness, the reptilians awaited, hungry for the next family to succumb to their fear.